how's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 74 here on Hawai'i Football Now. Jordan, Helle, Hunter, Hughes back with you for another edition here on ESPN Honolulu. We record this Wednesday morning about 10 a.m. Fun show lined up for you. We've got ESPN radio voice Mark Veneri coming on, color guy for the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior football broadcast. As we continue to kind of have a little retrospective on the 2022 season, nice kind of time to bridge into the next year and finally get a chance to catch up with our guy, Mark Veneri, former frequenter here on the Hawai'i Football Now podcast. Big mahalo to our sponsors, Spectrum Mobile, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union as well. And as we get into our quick opening drive here, Hunter, final show of January, first of all, where the time has gone, right? Set to release this on Thursday, January 27th, as we record this. January 26th, as we record this on Wednesday, the 25th. One thing that I wanted to get into before we get into some of the football stuff, I thought this past weekend in local sports was really, really cool, obviously, with the running of the Eddie out at Waimea Bay. What a show, what an awesome event that was. Truly like a special occasion. And I know this is the football podcast, we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I mean, like the stuff of movies, right? The North Shore lifeguard, Luke Shepardson wins the title. You got guys as old as like 65 out there, and Mike Ho. You had some of the women out there doing their thing as well for the first time ever. Everything about it, first time in 7 years or whatever it was, everything about it is just like as special as it can get. And then to have like the Cinderella story of the winner and Luke Shepardson, I don't know what that's equivalent to. I don't know if that's like, you know, the guy who's like the pro at the course for a golf tournament who's like an alternate. They're like, oh, somebody pulled out. We need like somebody to play. And they're like, well, there's the guy working security. Do you want him to come and tee it up? And then he goes out and shoots the round of his life or something like that. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I think about the greatest game ever played, the U.S. Open at the Country Club at Brookline, Massachusetts. They made that movie about it. Shia LaBeouf played Francis Ouimet. He was the caddy at that club and qualified and got in and ended up winning the U.S. Open. And I think it was like 1905 or something like that. It was like the early 1900s. But yeah, very unique set of circumstances right there that we don't usually get with other sports. You know, in football, that might be the equivalent of like the water boy or like maybe the ref, you know, because the lifeguards keep everybody safe. So in football, that might be the ref going in at halftime and putting on a helmet and then going out there and mounting a comeback victory or something. But yeah, it's something unique, probably only, and also to the poetry storyline of Eddie Aikau and being one of the original lifeguards at Waimea Bay, and him being a protector and everything into kind of that legend that is Eddie Aikau. Really, really cool to see that guy Luke literally tap out, or clock out, I should say, of his shift and go out there and surf the Eddie in between shifts as being a lifeguard. It's unbelievable. And I really like that quote from Ezekiel Lau, who ended up winning Wave of the Day. He said, you know, when the waves are that big, you don't catch the waves catch you. I really liked that. As someone who, when he does surf, has the waves catch him all the time. I'm speaking of myself, and I get thrown on 3 to 5 foot waves, let alone those 50 footers that were coming in this past weekend. But very, very cool. I mean, that's what makes Hawaii special. Every couple of years, whenever the Eddie, the perfect storm literally has to happen for it to run. Everybody, you know, I always love when sporting events capture the attention of the general public. I was just at a coffee shop just a couple days ago, and hearing aunties and uncles that you would think nobody cares about sports, they're whispering about the Eddie Aikau. I can hear them talking about it. That gets me excited. You know, sports like this bring people together, and you know, it just adds to the coolness of an event when a lifeguard wins it.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, it really is like a cultural event, right? It's much bigger than sports. in a lot of ways, especially for people here in the islands. Really cool stuff. All right, that was our quick opening drive. Before we head into the game time, a good chance to remind you that Hawai'i Football Now is brought to you by Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. Originally opened in 1936 as a credit union for educators, Hawaii USA has inspired a culture of giving that is rooted in education and has since become Hawaii's largest credit union and expanded to other areas of community need that impact financial health, including healthcare, housing, and hunger. To learn more, please visit hawaiiusafcu.com. All right, we got Mark Veneri coming up. Let's get into the game time. All right, we're here with the guy, Mark. Mark, thanks a lot for joining us once again. We've been wanting to catch up with you for a little bit here. You are always a busy guy. You're doing all kinds of different things. So we appreciate you making a little time for us. And we're excited to kind of just talk story about all things Hawaii football. But before we get into that, and as we've mentioned a few times, and you and Hunter making up 2/3 of the radio broadcast this past season, just kind of generally, how did that go for you? I know you guys had a blast, obviously working with your brother John, Hunter on the sidelines, but kind of what was the experience like for you here in the first season of that Brotherhood broadcast?
Well, I think one of the cool things was, for me, I grew up kind of just always wanting the opportunity to kind of be in that situation. You look up to guys like, you Bob Hogues, your Bobby Kearns, your, Lad Panis, just, Robert Kikawas, just all of them. And you look at it and, John was on that list, of course, being that he's my brother. But when you get the opportunity, and I share this because I think one of the moments that, really hit me was not so much the two opening games at home, but what really hit me was I was in the big house and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I am absolutely living my dream at the very moment. And I actually had to go outside before the broadcast and take a moment for myself to really just be like, man, I'm doing this. It's not many people get to live out their dreams, and to do it with my brother is even more fantastic. Just do it side by side, and kind of it was an experience, and I think the cool thing about this is that we have the opportunity and the room to get better as both a play-by-play and the color guys, and I think the only way from here is just to go up.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that people will appreciate, that I know I appreciate. I know we've had conversations with you. I've had conversations with your brother about just kind of getting better at the craft, and the only way you really do that is get reps, and now you get like a full season under your belt, and it's like anything else, right? The more you do it, the more comfortable you get, and so I guess from that standpoint, what did you kind of find yourself getting into, maybe that surprised you or you didn't expect, or just something because you've obviously had a ton of experience doing a whole bunch of other broadcasts, maybe not the University of Hawaii stuff, but whether it's high school or other sports or what have you. But did anything kind of surprise you about the job or the season that kind of came about?
Well, one of the cool things is that people don't know this. Like, yeah, you could say that, John and I, we're brothers. We grew up together. Obviously, we're, being that he's a little bit older than I, but that one of the things that really stood out was that we never worked together. So trying to find the niche between the two of us and trying to find our flow, trying to find when I should go or when he should go, obviously him doing the play-by-play, he takes that lead role, but when to kind of interact with him in regards to, adding the piece of that color. So that was something we got honed in on, I would say more, as we grew towards the season, which was, fantastic. And, one of the things for me is I've been doing the play-by-play role with high school football. So stepping back and going to the color really allowed me the opportunity to actually do what I love, in the sense that I'm a film junkie. I love to be in the film room. So I studying coverages, studying what teams and opponents are doing when, Hawaii has that opportunity to play, be in the room with Timmy and, Jacob Yoro, Coach Shoemaker, and really picking their brain about just football. And that's kind of the aspect that I love about doing the color, is that I get to really hone in on some of the unique styles that our coaching staff has, and kind of the unique styles that we face week in and week out across the country.
Yeah, man, that's super cool. And Jordan mentioned getting reps in, and it's kind of a good branching off segment. Coach Timmy, this is his first time as a head coach. And a lot of this past year was him getting his reps in with everything, with recruiting, putting a coaching staff together, drafting up plays that are going to put us in a winning position, clock management later on in the game. All of those things you have to get reps in if you're going to be successful at this job. What was your perception in being in those rooms and just a season as a whole of how Coach Timmy Chang did?
I think one of the things, Hunter, and I know we've kind of talked about this too, and I've alluded to this to a lot of people because, I've had some conversations in regards like, we were 3-10. Well, there's things that we need to change. But I, went back and looked at the season and, thought to myself, of those losses, of those 10 losses, 5 of them now were a combined 30 points. So if you look at it, and even Timmy and Coach Yoro would say, it's a matter of 1 to 2 plays. Like literally the game of whether they won or lost in the games, especially in conference, were separated by at least 1 to 2 plays in that game that really made the difference. Now, if you look at it, I think that's a huge positive heading into next season because one, you know how to lose now, which in the sense that you've had those close games and you don't want to have that feeling again. You don't want to have that feeling of losing that close game when you had the opportunity to win. And now when you're in that tight game, you understand the nerves, you understand the butterflies, you understand the situation that you're in so you can perform at a higher level. And to me, I think 30 points separates us from being in the Hawai'i Bowl and being 8-5. So you look at it from that perspective, I think there's a lot of growth. And I think the coaching staff realizes that, we had a lot of young guys and a young coaching staff. And believe it or not, learning the X's and O's. Hey, guess what? Learning how to win is just important as the X's and O's. And you figure that out as time goes on.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you mentioned, moving forward into this next year, early signing period, has come and gone. We're about to hit the normal national letter of intent period. And just looking at this recruiting class that's coming in, what are some things that gets you excited about this next season as spring ball is just a couple of weeks away now? It's crazy to even say that, but we're right around the corner.
I can't believe one. I was looking at 24/7 Sports. So look, the other day actually, which was good. This is good news for Hawaii fans. Hawaii got the second ranked class in terms of transfers in the Mountain West Conference. So that's it shows that national attention is saying, hey, Timmy Chang and what they're doing in terms of getting a solid, ready talent. They rank second, and I believe Nevada was just ahead of them. And that's a huge win for bringing in the type of talent that Coach Timmy Chang needs to obviously start that run and shoot. I'm excited about Joshua. I'm actually really excited about the transfers. Cam Stone out of Wyoming is locked down. Like that's a lockdown corner. You don't have to worry about one side of the football field when you have him. Joshua Atkins, sleeper at the offensive tackle position. Stephen McBride has some speed out of Kansas. And looking at it, I think one of the Kuau Pehopa, obviously from Washington, coming over, Elijah Robinson off the edge. That was one thing we were missing last season. Is kind of like that speed rush defense end, but having him at 6'4", 250 from EC, I believe it was Eastern Carolina. Yeah. So just having him and having him there, I think will be huge. I think one of the sleepers, and I want you guys, and I don't want to butcher it. He played in the Polynesian Bowl this past weekend. I really think he's going to be a sleeper in the years to come for the University of Hawaii. Isaac Mongaleo, 6'7", 330-pound tackle, played in Florida, knows how to play against the big boys. I believe they're going to gray shirt or red shirt him. I think he's going to be fantastic as he grows. A lot of good reviews from some of the people of the national scouting guys. So they had a lot of good things to say about him. Elijah Palmer as well out of Bishop Gorman. I really like him. And then I think the monkey in the room and kind of like the rabbit in the room, Hunter and Jordan, is the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You know, Timmy didn't go out and get another quarterback. He said John Sangapolutele is the guy I like, the guy I want, and then there's Braden Shager. So I think you kind of got the writing on the wall of who's going to be battling at least next season at the quarterback position.
Yeah, and of course that kind of is an even bigger part of the conversation because of what he announced with the offense, right? And basically that he will be calling the plays. It'll be very much a collaborative game planning sort of situation, but you know, he wants to run the run and shoot. And that, of course, it sends off like alarm bells. I think there are like sensors placed out the islands that immediately start chiming anytime somebody says run and shoot, and people perk up. What'd you make of that news? And the fact that, look, they seem to be fully committed to Braden Shager here as they make this transition into an offense that resembles something that people should be very familiar with.
And you know, one thing about that I've heard, at least from the coaching staff, very high reviews on Braden Shager, and even his teammates about Shager being in the film room, being a guy that wanted to get better, just understanding, always at you know, getting into Timmy's ear, hey, how can I improve? Understanding the offense. Now, the intricacies of the run and shoot, it's a really small playbook, believe it or not. I've had the opportunity to see a couple of run and shoot playbooks, which is great, but it's small, but the intricacies lie in the details, and Hunter knows this when it comes to coverage. So I think, you know, making the switch to the run and shoot with the personnel that we have, great move by Timmy. I think that's what he's familiar with, and I think that's what everybody wants to see as well, because it allows you, you know, to spread the football out, and you have that run game. You have Tylen Hines, Najee Bryant-Lele as well in the backfield. But like you said, I don't sleep on John Sangapolutele either. This freshman is working hard. I've seen him; he's grown 2 inches, so he's about almost 6'4". Heading into University of Hawaii, about 6'3", 6'4". So he has a little swag to him as a local boy, and I think he wants to make the state proud. And the move is the right time because I don't think it's a wait and see type of deal for this university. I think it's a win now. It's a win now mode, and I'm happy that we're making that transition to the run and shoot.
Yeah, and for, you know, the offense to be sort of deemed as such, and they seem to now, you know, at least have an identity that they can work off. What do you make of the dynamic of Timmy kind of taking over the play calling duties, and how that all is, so, you know, should work out, and you know, it's an added responsibility for a guy who's a pretty young head coach.
And you know, I think the best comparison, just being on the sideline and understanding it, has been Nick Rolovich. We saw Smitty call some plays. We saw Craig Stutzman call some plays. And then in the last 2 seasons, Nick Rolovich said, I'm good at it. I know what to do. I've been an OC. I understand it.
Like QB.
I played the position. I understand the offense. I have to be the guy calling the plays. That's just what it is. And I think Timmy understands that because he's been around it for so long, that I think he understands, hey, I need to take this playbook. I know what to do. I know what to expect. And I got to be the guy that plays. Now, he's a first-time play caller, at least from Division I offensive coordinator standpoint, because he's taking play call duty. But he has to. I think all of us can agree that that's something that he has to do because of his knowledge of the run and shoot. And I expect big things. Don't sleep on the tight end too. Adding the tight end, kind of like a hybrid in which Rolo did. Adding that tight end like Tui Unga back in the day. I know you and I love Tui Unga, Hunter. Dakota Torres as well. You're going to see guys like that in the mix, bigger matchups type of deals. So you'll still see a little bit of that RPO hybrid, but it's going to be obviously geared more towards the run and shoot concepts.
Yeah, and you know, that's the reality, is we're really only one halfway successful season away from, in my mind, a flood of players coming back to Hawaii via the transfer portal. We've spoken to many of the coaching staff about keeping an open door policy for, just because guys, you know, went somewhere else you know, after high school, it doesn't mean they can't come back to Hawaii and come be a part of what they're creating right now. So I really feel like this coming season might be the opportunity that we've been waiting for with the run and shoot, with Timmy Chang, with this Brotherhood as an invitation for what guys could come and be a part of.
Yeah, because I think what the transfer portal has kind of allowed, it's allowed the opportunity for second chances a little bit more because um, what happened was, even, I think what happened in the NCAA is that you'd have to sit out a year in terms of a transfer. You could use your red shirt, but if you didn't have it, you'd have to sit out. But now allowing that immediate eligibility to play via the transfer portal allows guys to come back home, and that open door policy, hey, let's face it, local boys get homesick, and that's just what it is. They get homesick, they miss the
Absolutely.
food, they miss their families, and then hey, next thing you know, you build off of that, and I could see that happening. And I think one of the things, I'd be interested to get your guys' take too, if we're talking about it, is the whole college football playoff. We had what is it, 2 hours we're on a show, Hunter. The whole college football playoff absolutely changed the mindset and the landscape of, hey, guess what? A non-power five school can make it. Hawaii goes 11-1. Let's just say has a breakout season, which is possible. Goes 11-1 in the Mountain West Conference, and they're ranked 15th, and they're the highest ranked non-power five school.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? They're in the college football playoff. So, now I think it levels the playing field, and I think it allows us the opportunity. If we get this momentum going in the right direction, this year is going to be, and no pressure on coach. I think he knows this when we have our talks. We got to get to the Hawaii Bowl or better, and that's just what it is. Has to be above 500, and competitive in conference.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that would be a huge benchmark. I think, especially in the first year of the run and shoot, if you will, the first year of Timmy kind of taking over the play calling duties. I agree with you there. Before we let you get out of here, Mark, spring ball's like right around the corner.
I can't
And
believe
we're
that.
really transitioning into saying the traditional signing day is next week, Wednesday. We'll kind of round out the recruiting class there. Then they're right into spring ball like 10 days later or whatever it is. In February. What are you kind of looking forward to with the spring practices? Anything you've got your eye on in particular, as we kind of really kind of kick year 2 of the Chang era into full gear?
Well, the rumor that's floating around, there's two things. The two things that I'm looking forward to. Remember, Tylen Hines was a converted slot that went to running back. I'm interested to see if they make the move to put Tylen Hines back to slot, because he reminds me of that Cedric Byrd, JoJo Ward type of take the defense, I'll take the top off the defense type of speed. He just has that type of speed. You pair him with a guy like Kuali Nishigaya at slot, that understands the run and shoot. That is a dangerous slot combination, especially in the run and shoot. And then you got a big back in Najee Bryant Helle. You're going to see some guys that I think will move around in the offense. But for me, from what I know, the guys have already been working out. They've been, they have some of the baseline of the playbooks. Um, I'm thinking they hit the ground running, and I think the spring is just an opportunity to see, where personnel needs to be at that point. And then at least having it early and having it installed, having that that fresh taste of the run and shoot. For me, I'm expecting them to hit the ground running. I'm expecting Shager to at least have a little bit of a grasp on it, because I've heard he's been working very hard on understanding the playbook. So I'm excited. I like the ball spreading around. I like the ball in the air. I'm like Hunter. I love the quarterback play, and get the ball out quick, and let your playmakers do their thing. And I think it's hit the ground running. My expectations normally are like this. I guess you could say it's spring ball. It's gonna be a little bit higher for me. I need to see some quick development heading into the 2023 season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. The number one thing for me is seeing how these guys adapt, mainly the QB position, to not just the concepts, but the overall understanding of the run and shoot. It's a completely different paradigm in quarterback play A lot of times different dropbacks, the way that you flow as a player. A lot goes into that. That's why, it takes 2-3 years to get fully developed. Whenever Rolo came in, it wasn't until the 2019 season, which was his third year, that we really found our legs in that offense. And so I'm most curious to see kind of how our guys at the QB position adapt and work into that system, because it's going to take some reps.
Yeah, and the funny part about the run and shoot, and it's not so funny, because the thing of this is that you have one play call, but you have 6 different route choices based off of 3 to 4 different coverages. So in one play, you have maybe 10 things that you need to think about as a receiver. So, and even as a quarterback, when you're taking that half roll or that 3 to 5 step drop, you already got to know pre-snap read at coverage. When you come up to the line of scrimmage, you got to know what the defense is doing at that point and making those reads. And then the receivers have to be on the same page as the quarterback. So that, Hunter, about the run and shoot. That's the part that takes time and trust within the run and shoot. So I know they've been already working out in the off season. They've been throwing the ball around. I know that much, but obviously live reps is going to help them, and that's the part that needs to develop. And I think quicker would be the proper word. They got to get a step on it pretty quickly heading into fall, because man, this is happening fast all over again. Thinking about football.
I know.
Yeah, there is no downtime.
There is none.
No matter where, as long as they line up Tylen Hine someplace that he gets the football in his hands a whole lot, I am all for it. And I think folks will be pretty excited, and I know folks will be excited to hear the
Tylen Hine, by the way,
again.
Jordan, Tylen Hine needs about 15 touches per game.
Oh, easy.
That would be
easy.
That would be my minimum requirement. I don't care how you use him, but 10 to 12, if he's at the slot, 10, 12 touches per game, if not more, at least targets. That boy needs a football.
Yeah, no, he's got to be a very, very big part of the offense, and I'm excited to see what kind of creative ways they've got cooked up to get him the football. So it should be fun. Hey, Mark, we appreciate it as always, my man. You are always more than welcome back on the pod, and we'll catch up with you maybe after spring ball, kind of get your take before we head into the summer.
Yes, sir. And I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys at spring ball. Man, what is it, 2 weeks away? I think that's it.
It's coming.
And we're right. Pads on all over again. Here we go.
Yes, sir. All right, take
guys.
Care, man.
You guys have a good day. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Big thanks to our guy, Mark Veneri. Always fun to catch up with him. The man definitely puts in the work. He's very knowledgeable in the game, coaches, does it all. And has a million hats that he wears, but obviously takes a lot of pride in being part of the broadcast team for the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warrior football broadcasts. All right, halftime coming up. We got some news and notes on the other side. And before we wrap up episode 74, second half coming your way.
This is Hawai'i Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second halftime, Jordan Hunter back with you again. Big thanks to Mark Veneri for joining us in the first part of our pod here on Hawai'i Football. Now, I wanted to get into some light news, Hunter, kind of bounce around popcorn style before we wrap this one up. One thing I did mention, I don't know if anybody's seen it. If you haven't, go to social media. The University of Hawaii men's basketball program is rocking throwback unis tonight, right? Obviously, we released this on Thursday, recording this on Wednesday mid-morning. But playing tonight in their game, what is it, UC Santa Barbara, I think, tonight, as they return home from a road trip. 1970s era themed Hawaii rainbows with like the rainbow piping down the side. I think they're pretty sweet. I am all for it. And I bring this up because it's the first retro uni we've really seen from Adidas, right? And for the men's basketball program, they got into it a little bit last year. We've seen some throwbacks with the Under Armour partnership, and now with Adidas. And so maybe a sneak peek into what maybe some of the football alternate unis, some throwback unis might look like under the, I would imagine. But they went 70s retro theme here, and I am all for it.
Absolutely. No, I thought those were so sick. One of the members at the golf course that I worked at for many years was John Pennebaker, who was
Oh
one of
yeah.
the original Fab Five back in the 70s, and looked very much like what he probably wore back in the day. I like you, Jordan. I'm a huge fan. Anytime we can honor the past, and UH just has a very unique colorway and story tradition with our brand. And so anytime we can play on that, I think is terrific. And yeah, really, since in some ways the Chow era, we haven't really sported too many throwbacks on the football side of things. Rolo brought in the island chain on the helmet, which we still use. But other than that, we really haven't gone back to any of the rainbow colorway in quite a bit. So I'm with you, man. I'm hungry for something new with the Adidas partnership.
Yeah, I'm excited. And that was something that, what was it, last year? Was last year the first year of the Adidas?
I think it was. Yeah.
And that it came in part because Under Armour pulled out of the Hawaii deal, like they pulled out of a lot of deals. And so the quick transition to Adidas, and they didn't really get a chance to customize a lot of jerseys. And so that was a topic of conversation, understandably so, with the late switch over. But now that they've got some time, I'm excited to see what the possibilities are. You saw Timmy a little bit last year. He would have those like the long sleeve pullovers that had like the Menehune,
the running back,
with the rainbow. I thought those were pretty cool. Maybe they can incorporate some of that, right? There are a ton of different eras. There are a ton of different eras, especially of UH football, that they can tap into, and I'm excited. I think they got it right with this basketball look, which gives me optimism that they will, get it right come football season.
While we're on the topic, Timmy is a fan of no frills on the sideline. He looks like another GA out there sometimes. From a coaching staff perspective, he's just very no nonsense. Got a white track top and then split pants on under. It's you almost can't distinguish that he's the head coach out there.
Comfort. He's going for comfort.
He is. He's going for comfort and built for speed almost. Looks like he's wanting to jump out there and run around a little bit. But maybe in the second year we'll see the Koa Wood lay or something, because I feel like we could turn that up a little bit in year two.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the arena sports. They've got like the Aloha shirt or Aloha print partnerships with some of the local brands as well. So you never know. We'll see what Timmy's style. Maybe on episode 100 when he's promised to come back on the pod, which now is only 26 episodes away. Crazy enough. We'll ask him about his style on the sidelines. Speaking of grad assistants, former University of Hawaii defensive lineman, and former University of Hawaii grad assistant, fellow Baldwin alum, love to throw in there, and former guest of the show, Jordan Pu'u Robinson, taking a job. It just announced, made official that he will be the defensive line coach. So kind of making that transition, right, from grad assistant to full-time assistant coach as he continues on his coaching journey over at the Citadel. As we mentioned, friend of the pod, he joins the staff at the Public Military College in Charleston, South Carolina. So he's going a long way away from the islands. Bulldogs went 4-7 last year, 3-5 in the SoCon, but a great, really great first opportunity as a full-time assistant coach for Pu'u as he joins the FCS ranks. And I think he's a guy that you talk to a lot of people around the program. He's got a pretty bright future in the coaching profession. Yeah,
and fellow Baldwin guy for you, fellow UH teammate of mine. We played together in the Norm Chow era, and couldn't be more stoked for him. I think that's just goes hand in hand. If you're connected with Hawaii, not just UH, but Hawaii in general and football, and you see people succeed and start to, find their legs on their journey, you can't help but be excited for them. So nothing but the best for JPR.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how his journey progresses. I think that's a great start for him over there at the Citadel. Just a trading one short for another, man, as he goes all the way to Charleston, South Carolina. That's pretty cool stuff. Hawaii football signees at the Polynesian Bowl. You had 4 of them over this past weekend. Last week, Friday, played at Kuniakea Stadium up at Kamehameha Schools. You had quarterback John Kiavi Sangapolutele, who Mark mentioned in our conversation first half of today's pod. He got on the field for a little bit in the second half, threw 2 passes, completed 1 for 11 yards. You also had the offensive lineman Isaac Mangaleo'o, the young man out of Campbell, who's a big dude, who Mark also kind of pointed out as having his eye on. You also had Mililani safety Ezekiel Rodriguez playing the game, didn't record any stats, as well as linebacker Vaifanua Peko out of American Samoa. Also didn't record any defensive stats in that ball game, but pretty cool experience. And we've seen in years past, some hidden gems in that Polynesian Bowl kind of make a name for themselves. We saw the game continues to get just ridiculously high level players. And it's going to be kind of cool to see where those guys end up. And also, it's not a bad thing that you bring a lot of these kids into the islands and they get to play a little bit, get a little taste, and some of them with family ties and whatnot, even among some of the bigger recruits. Because as you mentioned, Hunter, like if you get that run and shoot offense going, you'd be like, hey, playing in Hawaii, not a bad thing. You never know who might circle back to the islands maybe later in their collegiate career.
But yeah, and the Polynesian Bowl really has found its footing right now with being played on the NFL Network. The showing up of prolific NFL talent and Hall of Famers. Troy Polamalu was there. He turned up, and just to see the reaction from players whenever they were surprised to see people like him. Obviously, Coach Miano has done a phenomenal job in curating this event, and it's widely respected, not just here in Hawaii, but nationally for Polynesian kids everywhere. They want an invite to this to come be a part of this. And I think you're right, Jordan. If you could pair this with a little bit of success, branding, coming and playing for the Brotherhood at UH, that's gonna be more cultivating or more captivating in years to come.
Yeah, just sharing that Polynesian culture, right, and how influential it has been on the game of football. I think it's a great event, and obviously what the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame has done. I just it's awesome that game continues to grow and continues to get just ridiculously talented players to come in. Of what is now, I think, one of the established high school senior all-star games in the country up there. Trying to be on the level of the Under Armour game as well as the U.S. Army All-American game in San Antonio. So pretty cool stuff there. One other thing before we head into our 2-minute drill to close things out, did want to make a correction, as our guys on the comments did rightfully point Scott. Trey, I think, TRVY8 on the YouTube handle. Bobby Petrino, who was at UNLV, no longer there. On January 15th, I believe it was January 4th, I should say, was hired away to be the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. We had mentioned that he was hired at UNLV, and that was kind of a big coup for Coach Odom there. But he lasted all of 20 days. He'll be taking over the primary play calling duties from Jimbo Fisher at A&M, which is a big story in itself, let alone the fact that he had like a cup of tea over in Vegas. I don't even know if he showed up in Vegas before he got scooped up by Texas A&M. He was hired on December 15th by UNLV and then left on January 4th, the official hiring by Texas A&M. 20 days. Very reminiscent. I think some sports fans will remember Chris Beard was 20 days as the UNLV basketball coach back in 2016. He was hired away from Arkansas Little Rock after taking them on an NCAA tournament run. And then 15 days later, bolted for Texas Tech. He subsequently left there for Texas last season and is no longer at Texas because of the domestic incident, which is no good. But this seems to happen to UNLV. It's kind of weird. One of our I think it was Scott that pointed out, is very reminiscent of who was the guy that Norm hired? Zach. I'll go look it up in the notes here. Zach Hill, the offensive coordinator. Right, he came from. Did he come from Ewash too?
And then he ended up at Boise.
Then he ended up at Boise, right? But was he?
That was actually a Rolo. That was a Rolo hire.
Oh, Rolo hire. Yeah, it was a Rolo hire.
I shook his hand. I literally shook his hand.
So he was here
He was.
briefly.
He introduced Rolo introduced me to him as the quarterbacks coach. And then he was gone. So literally every time we played Boise, we had plays called Rich Hill. And so, or Zach Hill, whatever his name was.
Yeah, Zach Hill,
Rich
yeah.
Hill.
Not to be confused with Rich Hill, the University of Hawaii baseball coach.
Thank you. A lot of names, but yeah, that was an interesting deal. Back to the UNLV thing, Jordan. They say Vegas is a 3-night town, so it was just long enough to lose your signing bonus on the craps table. So I'm glad he got out of there without too much damage.
Yeah, he was not even a 3-week stint in Vegas, not even a 3-week town or job for Bobby Petrino there. So pretty interesting. And then the other interesting thing, and this was pointed out as well by our guy Trey 8. I'm just going with that, Trey. Feel free to correct me in the comments for the next episode. But the new offensive coordinator who was hired mid-January after the departure of Bobby Petrino is Brennan Marion. And so folks will be like, Brennan Marion, that name sounds familiar. Yeah, he was the former University of Hawaii wide receivers coach right in 2020, the first of the 2-year Todd Graham era, and then left, went to Pittsburgh. Coach Jordan Addison there, was at Texas, I believe, this past season. And so he is the new offensive coordinator, and he is a guy with a great pedigree. I think he played for Coach Graham over at Tulsa, was it? He was a really good receiver, and then he was the offensive coordinator at Howard, amongst other stops, and had some really prolific offensive there. I think it's a pretty interesting hire, pretty good hire, and adds to a list. And if nothing else, Todd Graham has always had a really impressive coaching tree, really impressive coaching tree.
Gus Malzahn.
Among other, I mean, even in the Pac-12, right? With Dan Lanning at Oregon, and now Kenny Dillingham, right? The guy that's gone down to Arizona State, both Todd Graham guys. It's ridiculous. But just on that 2020 staff, like at the University of Hawaii, just the 2020 staff, like the 1 year, GJ Kinney, who went to UCF, then was the head coach in Incarnate Word and led them to like unprecedented heights, made the semifinals of the SCS playoffs and put up ridiculous numbers offensively. He was the offensive coordinator in title that 2020 year, even though he wasn't the play caller. He's now the head coach at FBS, Texas State. You got Marion, who's the OC at UNLV. You've got Jacob Yoro, who's the defensive coordinator at the University of Hawaii. You've got Tony Hull. Remember, he was the co-offensive coordinator, again, on paper, inside receivers coach at the University of Hawaii. He's now the offensive coordinator at Grambling State. FCS is pretty high level. You got Trent Figg, who was the chief of staff. Then he was a position coach, I think, the second year under Graham. He spent last year at Oregon, was like an analyst at Oregon because the connections there. He's now the head coach at Division III Calvin University in Michigan. They're just starting a program there in Grand Rapids, first year ever. So he's like a head coach, a collegiate head coach. Like, that's just off that 1 year. And again, we've beat that horse a whole bunch of times when it comes to the Todd Graham. We know, we get it. We've talked about it probably too much for some folks out there, but it is kind of amazing how many of his guys, man, go and find success.
Todd Graham, not very successful when it comes to cultural sensitivity, very successful when it comes to football and football knowledge, coaches, connections there. Say what you will about him, that part of the job, he's got well covered. So, yeah, very interesting to say the least, Jordan.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And again, that's just one of the 2 years. Maybe I got to go back and look at the 2021 season and see where some of those guys ended up. It's kind of amazing. So indirectly, best of luck to Brennan Marion. I think he'll do pretty well at UNLV, to be quite honest. I think Odom's done a nice job of rebuilding, kind of like Timmy Chang. I've got some really good friends who played football in UNLV, and I know that Odom has done a really good job of trying to reconnect with alums. And I don't know if that was necessarily the case under the previous coaching staff. And much like Timmy Chang, I think trying to rebuild some of that and welcome a lot of these guys back in awesome. With open arms. So that's pretty cool stuff there. And there's always kind of this kindred connection, I think, to UNLV and the University of Hawaii football program. So that'll about do it for us. We head into the quick 2-minute drill to wrap things up here, Hunter. I'll give you a chance, but I did want to mention the University of Hawaii nationally ranked women's water polo program, which is always really good. Beat Michigan 15-6 in women's water polo over the weekend. Then they beat Fresno, turned around, beat them the next day. You could catch that streaming and whatnot. But yeah, take that, Harbaugh. A little revenge for the football team. So you may have gotten us on the football field, but do not test us in the water, because the women's water polo squad, they're legit.
The water's got to be colder up in Michigan, man. I'm from that neck of the woods, so yeah. Well, I think we've got the water sports handled a little bit better. My overtime is I don't know if you guys saw the warm up of Joe Burrow before that divisional.
He's smoking a cigar, or
Bills. He throws a go route and spins around, and they slow mode it, and they're like, "Joe Cool is here." I'd just like to mention the first person to do that this past season was actually our boy Justin Fields, Jordan, from the Chicago Bears.
Literally, that's right. A little less support for Justin Fields in Chicago than there is for Joey
That's
B.
Exactly right. But before they deem, Joe Burrow the author of all things cool in the football world, he might have gotten it from his other Ohio State fellow alumni. So I just want to get that jab in there as well. In the interest of throwing jabs, I thought I'd throw another one.
There you go. Before we head out, let's do it. Who do you got in the Super Bowl? Who's winning the 2 championship games?
I think a lot of the momentum's with the Niners right now, and I think it's going to be Niners Bengals. And
it's 2 road teams. I like it.
Yeah, with where Mahomes' ankle is at right now, he couldn't even hand off outside zone. Jordan, he
was barely, 2 hops on the good leg. Yeah. It
was brutal to watch. I'm very curious to see how he's going to do. And the game of the week will be San Francisco against the Eagles. That's going to be the one. But tough to say a winner right now. But I feel like a lot of momentum's with San Fran.
Yeah, I'm going. I was with you. My picks coming into the playoffs, I think, were Cincinnati and San Francisco. I'm going to change a little bit. I'm going to roll with Cincinnati. I also don't think they're going to let Travis Kelce catch 14 balls. I love Travis Kelce. He's my dude. But I think they're going to put a lot of pressure on some of the more unproven receivers. So I'm going with Cincinnati.
Yep.
I was all in on the Niners. Then the Eagles kind of played like they were playing earlier in the season last week and just demolished the Giants. Yeah. So I think at home, I'm going to go with Hurts and the Eagles. So we'll differ there. We'll see how wrong I am come next week.
I'll take an L.
We'll see. Yeah, so it'll probably just be the Chiefs winning. That's probably how this works out because of our prognostication skills. No, that was a lot of fun today. Always fun with you, Hunter. We appreciate our guy Jonathan on the controls, as well as a big mahalo to Mark Veneri for joining us as the guest on episode 74. Shout out to our sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union as well. We'll see you next week, everybody. Signing day coming up less than a week's time. We'll be back to talk all about it next episode here on Hawaii Football Now. Aloha.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.